I'll join special meeting of the Harlem Session of the Harlem Community Board, which has been duly posted to order.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting, the board meeting between the Harlem City Commission and the Harlem Community Board was duly posted to be held June 16, 2021 at 4:30. It is now 4:35. 4:35. So I call this meeting to order.
Okay. Is there any citizen communication?
Yes, Mayor, we have one, Mr. Ron Lozano, with his question.
Your Honor, as I understand it, there's a public hearing. If I can forego the citizen communication and wait for the public hearing.
That's fine. We'll call for public comment at the public hearing.
Thank you.
So,
Item number one, public hearing to solicit comments for the public relating to the design and construction of certain infrastructure improvements regarding to the irrigation system drainage, cart path, bunkers, and drainage improvements to holes 1 to 18 of the Tony Butler golf course.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a presentation. Again, you want to get us started on the proposed improvements, and then I guess you can open up the public.
Is
that okay, Mayor?
yes.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Commission, board members. So I'm going to go through a couple of slides and just kind of a brief summary of what you all have seen before. Of course, Tony Butler Golf Course today, and then there's a picture of the Tony Butler Golf Course back in, it was built in 1929. These are some of the facilities that the golf course has. It's 162.94 acres. It's 18 holes with a driving range and 1 practice green. We have a pro shop and the restaurant. Currently, we have 65 golf carts. They're gas, and then we have maintenance equipment that we just purchased this past year. We have a golf storage rental building. It's about 6,055 square feet. Maintenance barn, 6,900 square feet. And then we have 2 storage buildings that house our fleet of 65 golf carts. And then, of course, our irrigation system that we have in place. And then we have 2 brick field restrooms that are in the on the course itself. And then we have 14 full-time employees and 7 part-time employees. And this is the aerial of the golf course. It shows all 27 holes, and then we show the ones in dark red as the part of the 27 holes that were closed. And the typical cycle of the golf course components are between 20 and 30 years. So the system that we have right now, the infrastructure, cart paths, the irrigation, everything has pretty much reached its life expectancy. And so we'll talk about that in a few minutes further. So some of the course of actions that we've done since we started looking at what we could do to the golf course was we had the National Golf Foundation create the study for us, which they presented it to us in June of 2019. Then the City Commission selected a group of community members as an ad hoc committee to review the study and come to the City Commission with recommendations. November 2019 is when we closed the Executive 9, and we made it effective April 1st, 2020. November 2019 is when we hired a new golf director for the golf course, which is Jeff Hart. And our goal is to focus on improving marketing efforts, improving the maintenance practices, and then of course, improve or purchase new ground maintenance equipment, which has been done. So some of the recommendations from the National Golf Foundation is to rebuild or replace the major infrastructure components of holes 1 through 18. That includes the green, the tees, the irrigation system, the bunker, drainage, and cart paths. So that preliminary cost estimate was 3.7 million, according to his original proposal to us in his study. And then the option 2 was, of course, the transformation renovation of holes 1 through 18. And that was redesigning and enlarging the greens, adding forward tees, lengthening the course to 6,800 yards, enlarging and enhancing practice area, new and wider cart paths, and then partial rerouting of other design elements. That cost estimate was $7 million for that option. So what we've done here is these are estimates from the architect, the landscape architect or golf architect. So in 2020, he gave us these estimates: 1.6 million to replace the irrigation system. And today, what he shared with us is that there's been an increase because of COVID. He asked us to consider increasing it by 20%. And so that 1.9 is adding 20% to the 1.6 million. And so the modern push-up greens back in 2020 was 500,500. And so he asked us on these is to increase it by 15%. So those figures on the right on 2020 reflect the 15% increase. So then we go down to drainage, 230,000. Today's numbers is 264,500. If we smooth over the bunkers, it was 37,000. Today it's 42,550. And then the design and professional services, what an architect would charge us, back then was 41,000, and today is 47,725. And then we had contingency in there, which is 175,000. So we bumped that up 15% to 201,250. And so back in 2020, our total estimate was 2,634,000. And if we went with it today, it would be 3,111,600. So one of the things that we didn't have, that the architect didn't give us, was the estimate for to repair or replace some sections of the cart path. And so we added a $500,000 estimate in there.
How did you come up with that?
So what we did was the cart path right now, the entire cart path is about 20,000 linear feet. And so what we would like to do is focus on the areas that are closer to the greens and tee boxes. That's where you would have people stacking up. And so so that's how we came up with 10,000 linear feet. So 10,000 times the $5 per linear foot was came out to 500,000.
Using the concrete?
What we did was we used.
Isn't the cart path almost like sidewalks? We're running sidewalks right now, so we can get a pretty true cost for that.
What's the cost for that? I think we're paying about $39 a square yard.
Right.
And so it's
So
$50.
that's the calculation.
Yes, $50 a square yard. That's not $5. Okay, so it's not just repairing the existing. So what they want to do is they want to widen the cart path. So what happens when golfers are playing, they pull up the green, they're parking on the grass, they're creating ruts. So we widen those sections that allow the parks to park.
And you want to widen closer to the greens.
Right, the tees and the greens. And so right now, currently our cart paths are 5 feet wide. And so the cart golf cart itself is 4 feet wide. So that's why we kind of want to give it some.
The 3.1 does not include the 500 down. Right?
No, sir. So, that's the end of my presentation. If you all have any questions or comments, I have some more slides in here that show that we showed you before, which, some of the, actions or activities that, Jeff has implemented, to improve the golf course. I think I presented that to you all last time is, you know, he's lessened on the, irrigation, the time they irrigate. He's increased the fertilization. He's increased the aeration of the greens. And he's cutting the grass lower to be able to spread it out. And so it reduces any, fungus or anything like that growing in the turf. So he's made several of improvements, to the golf course, and we've had several, people actually witnessing it, not witnessing it, but they've I guess testimony that the golf course has improved in the last 6-8 months.
Javier, just for clarification, the golf architects and the National Golf Foundation consultants, is this the same?
I'm sorry, what two with?
You keep saying golf architects. Is that the same as the consultants?
Yes. So the National Golf Foundation, the gentleman that we were dealing with, they hired a consultant, which is the architect. And so he came down with them to prepare or to do an assessment of the golf course, and they created the study for it.
So these latest numbers were done when, just recently, or is this, are we going back from the numbers that they gave us in 2020?
Okay, so the numbers they gave us in 2020 were in the report. I'm sorry, the 2019 were the ones that were in the report. The 2020 were given to us after we met with the ad hoc committee. Because the committee had asked them that there was ways that we could reduce the cost. And so he came up with these estimates, the 2020 figures, after we met with the ad hoc committee.
I think Commissioner's question is, if you hire a design team, it's gonna be those people that did the study, right?
It could be. We'd have to go out for RFQs.
So we'll go out to our issues, and we'll go to the ranking process and bring it back to you. So we don't have an architect on board for the design yet. What we used was the consultant, they hired an architect to give us estimates. These are all based on estimates.
And the ad hoc committee is who?
It was, yeah, it was a committee that the city commission had, they chose members.
You can want to open up the public hearing?
I do, but I have one more question for you. You have a comment down there at the very bottom. Maintenance improvements 1 to 3 years.
So it's gonna, any improvements we make in the 18 holes is gonna require a phased approach, because we're gonna have to work on probably 4 holes at a time so that we can maintain 18 holes open at all times. You don't want to just close down the golf course. And so that's gonna push the improvements over a period of time. We're thinking about 24 months, really, to be honest with you. From the start of design to actual.
Let me ask you a question, because you're bringing a point, why not keep the 9 holes that we closed while we reopened them, maintain them while we're phasing in, or while we're doing the tours of the 18th? Because you can do it. Because
So we have 4 holes.
the problem with the phase-in approach is it just delays the time of the recovery. The faster you get the improvements done, hopefully the faster the participation of the.
So we do have 4 holes, those 4 in the red, that are part of the 9 of code that we've been continuing to maintain, with the idea, with the intent that we would utilize those 4 as we get 4 holes and keep 18 holes open at all times.
But, so my question is it not possible just to open up online and do 9 at a time, 8 at a time, would be able to do
We
more?
haven't been maintaining those others on the other side at the golf course.
But you're gonna say that your construction, your time, my concern with the time of construction was that everything's going up, every single day. The cost of, I mean, I think we're up 40%, as a norm, I mean, that's an even number. And I don't see that coming down anytime soon, so it may be cheaper to do it more one time than.
What would it take to get the nine, those other holes ready? I mean,
Well,
oh, he's already gone for it.
I'm sorry, we've actually taken, 60 heads off of the fairways and greens and moved them onto our existing 18 holes. So we'd have to replace those 60 heads, which is gonna be about $100 a piece.
60 what?
Sprinkler heads?
Oh, that's $6,000. I'm talking about holding up construction that, if you're gonna delay it a year, you're gonna have.
So the question is, Jeff, what would it take to get it ready for greens and the fairway?
So how many?
We would have to replant the greens, and that would take several months to replace them and bring them back.
Well, we could do that while we're doing our textual.
Yes. It's
So if, what he's saying is that we would require to redo the greens, replant the greens, and that would take several months.
What's the long-term plan? Because it doesn't look like everything's been planned for the first 18 holes. And you're using the other ones, you said they're dark red. But what's the long-term goal for the other areas?
That's something that the council will have to decide moving forward.
So we had discussed previously that we were going to sell the front end. But you can't do that because of the discussion here.
That would be something that has to be presented to voters.
That will have to go in the next election, which is coming up in February. They will have to go to the public and vote on it. The public voted yes. We can sell the front end. And then we'll just leave that.
But that's if the commission decides to take them out.
Yes.
Okay, so let's, I think we're moving ahead of ourselves. Let me go back to a very basic question. Can we or can we not take this 3,111,600 and use all those funds to do all 27 homes? Is that possible?
No, the estimate.
If we even it out.
The base estimate that we have is 3.1 is only for the 18 holes.
Okay, so I have a suggestion, because I've been thinking about it quite a bit, and keep in mind that I don't like
I don't know if you want to open up the public.
I'm thinking that that's really what we need.
Yeah, and especially still, all you're gonna do is open up the public hearing that way.
Because obviously there's a lot of discussion that's going to take place, and that probably should go under item number 2. At this time, I'd like to declare a public hearing open for input from the citizenry for and against this project.
You were gonna say something.
Oh, now I can let my, that's true. Here's a suggestion, or something I want to think about, or maybe ask the board, because you guys play a very important part of, their role is very important in how we distribute money. And I imagine you have other priorities or other just as important list of things that you have to tackle. If I were to suggest them, I think, how much are we asking for? 2.5?
3 point. If we do the 5 band, it'll be 3.61.
So 3.61. Can we not, and this is a question for you, ask them only for half of that, so that they can use the other 1.6 that we're going to go for other items that may be on their list that they weren't able to tackle. And then we would match that, whatever they do.
So because of the public notice that we issued, the item on the agenda is going to the golf course, so if the 4B board is actually wanting to fund X amount of dollars for these improvements, and the rest will just stay behind until we identify the project.
Right. Well, that was my suggestion, because I would suggest that I don't think it's fair for us to put the burden on them to say, I need all of your money, and I don't know how much we have, but it's just a suggestion saying, we will match this, and I think we may need to come up with a little bit more money and get a little bit more confidence, like more timing. Which would include opening up the mine and then doing a bigger footprint.
Commissioner, I know that we have at least one individual signed up for public comment. I think we should, Mr. Chairman, I think we should ask him to come forward.
Mr. Lozano?
Well, there's this is a public hearing, the state law does not have a time limit on public hearing. The issue is, on some mental things, we have also statewide uniform election dates, and February is not one of the months where election is conducted here. However, to make it clear, because I think there has been some confusion, of the 9 holes that are supposedly being jettisoned, 4 of them are open, 4 of them are being utilized, a lot of times by youth. And I know several of you care about youth. And the thing is that we may get another 2 or 3 inches of rain in the next 10 hours. Everything is green. God has stepped in and helped us quite a bit. But typically, if we have to resod 5 of the greens that are adjacent to and closest to the freeway, that is usually done in the spring. And I realize we got about 3 more days of spring, but that's about it. So those are factors you're going to have to take into account regarding how you're going to go about phasing in, as Mr. Sedna has gently put it. One other thing, given the cost of greens, which have improved a lot, to one extent, Mr. Hart has gotten a national tournament next month. The Pan American Golf is going to play, and they just made this decision in the last week because they think our course is worthy. But one green, the final green, 18, had some problems, and Jeff sent off to a university in Florida to test the soil analysis. It turned out good news for us. I just want to show you that there are people that care about the course. They're going to great lengths to get expert advice. And finally, I think Mr. Fuentes made up a good point about you're going to need an architect, but it doesn't have to be the in-house architect of this particular group. I think, like a lot of other things, bidding is a way to go in government. Thank you.
Anyone else speak for or against the Sabbath during the public hearing?
None.
I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. We can move on to item number 2.
Wait, may I say something?
There's discussion to be held in item number 2.
So what our input is, I'm confused.
No, item number 2 includes consideration. So there's discussion involved with
I stand corrected, sorry.
what's it.
Everybody will get to discuss, everybody will have an opportunity to discuss.
But I think we'll do that under item number 2 as opposed to during the public hearing. Okay. Item number 2, consider and possible action to approve the funding for the Tony Butler Golf Course project. Do I have a motion?
Prior to the motion, Mr. President, I'd like to give them input. I would like the commissioner to lead it.
There's a motion and a second, and then there's discussion.
And then I'd like to make a motion that the board be considered funding $1 million for the project for
Do we have a second?
I can amend my motion for 1.5.
Is there a time limit?
Little awkward. We can't get into discussion unless we have a second, at which point we can decide what it is that we actually will do.
I'll withdraw it and then make the second motion, the other motion to do it for 1.5.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll go ahead and second.
We have a motion and a second. All right, and the recommendation at this point is 1.5 million. Is that correct? Yeah. All right, discussion?
Is there a reason why you want 1.5?
Well, that's a good question, Dan, because the last meeting, I think the input that I just don't feel that our board sustained a whole enough. I feel it needs to be part city, part other. And I'm just cautious, and I believe in the golf course, and I think $20 for many. Yet I feel that it needs to be other agencies as well. And that, I do agree that the $20 should be under the management of the municipal.
It's, that's what I need to go after. I don't know if that answers your question.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. I'm just wondering how we went from $3 million to 1.5. I was prepared to discuss the $3 million. So that's why for the second challenge, I'm just trying to figure out how we got there.
Well, just like the park, you know, you see phases, and I want to see phases. I want to see what is done with the, whatever it is, 1.5, 3, and
Just couldn't talk about it, we had this.
that's true.
So what would you propose to find with 1.5? What improvements? What we would staff would have something.
If you're asking me, I would indicate that reopen the front 9 or the frontage 9. If you're asking me the question, I would indicate that, well, you're asking me the question, I have.
About the improvements. The proposed improvement for both 1 to 18, which is the agenda item.
And you're asking me the question, so I'm indicating that it needs to be more than enough structure to have a quality golf course that is part of the Article 100. I think we need to be open box. I think that it also needs to be a lighted green, a practice room. I feel it needs to be more than that. And we have a premium court, premium location. There's no reason why Tony Butler is in this situation. We should not be in this situation. I'm embarrassed why Tony Butler is in this situation. And I'm part of the problem, meaning they need to have more golfers. Now, the presentation doesn't show the number of golfers. My suggestion that in addition to these numbers, we need to show the progress. And my understanding is that because of the pandemic, there's been more golfers going out there, and there's been more, and Mr. Jeff may provide input on that. But yet I think that would help out the communication for the citizens. Now, I'm with you, there needs to be additional funding more than that. I'm okay with that. Hopefully that answers the question.
Commissioner Maslany, you have been wanting to make.
Yeah, the first 18 need 3.1 million if you're gonna do it minimally right. It needs 7 million to do it all proper. To bring up the other 9 holes and bring them up to snuff would cost roughly about 1.6, 1.7, 1.8 million in addition.
No,
So-
that's not correct.
Where are you getting that from?
That's not correct.
Well,
That's not correct.
he was just talking about the,
The sprinkler
Sprinkler heads.
and the side.
okay, but the greens have to be improved.
But you're
Fairways need to
No,
be
you're
improved,
trying to keep it-
everything. But,
We're just talking about.
excuse me, I was speaking.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your courtesy. So it's gonna take at least another million to do those other 9. I'm gonna talk like my dad. Michael, don't do anything half-assed. You either fix the front 19 or 18, and then you focus on those other 9, or don't do anything at all. Just let it all decay. You gotta put real money into a real problem and bring it up to speed.
Well, what did you say we've been doing it half buck, because we've been forgetting about the back 9 and. what
Well,
they're-
nobody's forgotten about the back
Well, they're
9.
being
There's not,
maintained. Again, like you said, courtesy.
no,
Courtesy.
because we chose to not maintain it because we didn't have the money for it. And we're asking for 3.1 million to maintain the front 18 and bring it up to speed. And once that's done, we could focus on the other 9.
Commissioner, but the problem with that is phasing over 3 years. The cost of that to do that would be more than what it is now. If you look at this comparison between 20 and 21, it's $500,000. So it's easy to say in 3 years, it's gonna be at least another $500,000. So I'm saying invest into the money now, and then you're right, 100%. If you're gonna do it right. But throwing that burden onto this board, that's not their only responsibility. They have other items that they should contribute to, and my opinion.
Their report is here, yes.
Yes, my opinion. So I'm suggesting that it takes real money, and I think the city, we can find another $1.5 million in our budget to not ask them for 3 million. We still do, I'm not arguing about 3 million. I'm just saying it's gonna be cheaper to get the 9 holes while we're doing a study, because that's gonna take time, get the other line going so that you can shut down more holes and complete more of the construction in a more timely manner. Time is money.
They roughly have $2 million that they've not promised to any project at any time. And
That's not
they're getting sales tax dollars
Yes,
monthly.
sir, I understand it, but that's not to say that they don't have projects that they would like, that other projects that they would attention. That's because I haven't sat in one of your board meetings in a long time. I just going off of what I remember.
Mr. Steiner, what do we have there, currently, and, for the, I guess, end of the cycle?
I'll let Robert answer that question.
But I know there's a agreement.
So I just want to, the item on the agenda is talking about the 113 funding the improvements for the development. That's the item that we're discussing. The opening of the 9 holes, I think if that's something the city council wants to pick up, that's what we need to discuss again. Because that's a broad discussion. The golf course is operating at a deficit. We know about that. Our staff that we have now is doing, obviously, the proof is in the pudding. They're doing a pretty good job of improving the 18 holes. Great job. Because we have the personnel. We're limited with the personnel. We have the personnel to maintain 18, and obviously it's shown. So if we start spending on 10, we're gonna have to add more personnel. We're gonna have to add more pumps. So that's a broader discussion. I just want to make sure that.
So I'll just kind of remind everybody, that we did, and a lot happened, a lot's happened. COVID has happened, a lot of things have happened. But we did have we got a very thorough study about this that y'all have seen it from the Golf Foundation. And they did provide some estimates. Those are, what I call up north estimates, different. And so one of the members of the ad hoc committee contacted another architect, and he thought we could do it for less. And so that's how those numbers got revised from 2020 numbers. And that's why they're different than what the Golf Foundation numbers were. We did, this all kind of came to a head when we were realizing that we were losing anywhere from $250,000 to $400,000 a year in operating the golf course. So the question was, do we want to continue to, since we operate this as a fund that's supposed to pay for itself, an enterprise fund, then did we want to continue to do that? And so the commission did make a decision, a collective decision, not to do that, to go ahead and shut the 9 holes down. And as I recall, we have reduced the deficit out there.
So, next year we're budgeting.
By about the amount that
we're still projecting about, about 300, it's over $300,000. I had a question because, not a question.
Well, so let me just finish. I just wanted to make the point that we did make this decision as a commission to shut the 9 holes down and not continue to operate. We had, I don't know where the golfers are, but we had in prior meetings, we've had lots of golfers come forward from the community. They do want, as you recall, some of these meetings were really packed with people in the community that want to see us revitalize the golf course. So it is a lot of money, and the numbers. This is a little bit of a curveball because you're giving us higher numbers now. But it will take a period of time, even if we got started tomorrow, which won't be able to, but we got started tomorrow. I'm sure these improvements can't be done. It's going to take a month or a year, several months to a year to complete the improvements. In the meantime, in addition to the $1.8 million that's in the fund balance of the community improvement board that is uncommitted, you're going to be generating the community improvement board, generating another at least 1.3 million. I mean, based on the way that sales tax numbers have been, it could be significantly higher than that based upon the last couple of years. It's going to be another 1.3. So you are going to generate in a period of 12 months another at least $1.3 million. Those are just some, I want to, just for the records of these things, I want to verify.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that, the discussion on the manhole is the reason for the budget discussion. You have to understand, the commission will have to understand that if we take on that additional responsibility, we will require personnel, and we will require additional costs, more trip. There will be additional costs associated with replacing water irrigation lines as well, those areas, so drainage and green. And so that's not part of the cost. So that's what I'm saying, it's a broad discussion because the personnel, you add personnel, you add costs, so you add to the deficit, at the operating deficit. As it is now, if the general fund starts picking that up, which I propose to do in this year's budget, it's over $300,000. But that comes from the general fund budget. So, and that growing, that also comes from general fund.
So how much is the golf course in the red right now? I know we're finished.
$1 million.
That's yeah, it's about $1 million.
I think it's two.
But has it been approving? Because I could have sworn I was reading the minutes of one of the golf advisory committees. The minutes, and they're saying that broken even the past 7 months, I think. Is that true?
Broken even? I don't know where they did that from. I would say, Commissioner, that the budget that Jeff turned in, and they have worked on for next year's budget is $1 million, just over $1 million in expenditure and $700,000 in revenue.
So again, I just want to suggest that we don't take all their money. I'm not disputing the number, and I may even let go of the 9 hole things. I just don't think that board, I think that board, there's other drainage projects or whatever it is.
They can't do drainage.
Or whatever is the other. I don't
We have projects.
Yeah, but
We have commitments.
Right.
We have
So
responsibilities
I
and following.
would let them continue with other projects, have the city contribute to that fund, and I think we split the cost. I think that's a.
I agree with you to a point, but I think they should go with the initial amount that they had, which is the $3 million, and then we contribute, like you said, like $1 million or something like that. But they should contribute at least the $3 million that they initially proposed in the thing. And I think that would go good. Then we can throw in $7 million, because I don't want to put us with more money, because more money from the city will give us less stuff for other things, other projects that we can do, like drainage and other things that we could spend money on. So if you want to contribute from us, that's cool, but I think they should go with the $3 million. So we're already sustaining the golf course. I understand that. But it's improving from what I understand.
I think it's certainly would be helpful to the cash flow situation that we improve to offer general fund balance money to help the golf course. I do think it's important to point out, however, that these funds can only be used for certain things, like parks, sports facilities, convention centers.
May I ask what else is on your books, and as far as projects?
Well, we're still working on the.
Can I just finish, Commissioner? Thanks. So these funds can only be used for those types of projects. And general fund money can be used for drainage purposes. For example, police, fire.
Yeah, I agree with that. I understand that.
Those kinds of things. So I just present that out. Yeah. That if we have a revenue stream that's specifically dedicated towards parks, we ought to use that revenue stream for parks, because we can't use it for drainage.
I agree.
But we could use our fund balance for drainage.
I agree. Yes.
So the 3.1 million is gonna come from
Their money.
The motion right now is 1.5. And there's a second at 1.5.
but initially, on here, y'all, initially it was the 2.6, right? And then it moved up to 3.1, not including the cost.
So because of the, we all see cost of materials go up, so.
So, can you answer my question?
Yeah, we're still working on the destination park. We're in the middle of phase 2. There's 5 phases to the whole project, which we committed to, but it's one of the high priorities that came out of the comprehensive plan in the workshops that we had throughout the city. We had 4 workshops, and that was one of the high priority items. Parks is very important to the community. The soccer complex, when that soccer complex was built, there was a shortfall on the amount of money that could be funded. So the curve is
That's from.
less. So that needs to be done, and that's an example. And that is part of the competition.
Isn't that an example? That complex, pre-COVID or post-COVID, it's gonna be in higher numbers. But you have quite a bit of participation, right? That they use that field, right? Well, teams a lot of.
That's how the priorities are ranked. What is the overall, usage?
But my point is, like, what I'm trying to do is say, I don't want to take all your money, because you can invest money, spread it around, right? Like the soccer complex, that's one item. That would benefit either just as many citizens or more. But again, and having us give him direction to find where we can add more to that, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still a long-term thing that we have to maintain. It's our golf course, right? It's ours, and we have to. We're trying to solve a problem that's doing over the last 20 years. This doesn't have an issue. So the way I would look at it, if we didn't invest in that money, we as a city didn't invest because either we couldn't or we didn't. But now is the time that we have to fix it. And I'm just not a fan of long-term construction because the cost is going up, and the quicker we do it, I think it's I'm just when you create the people are going to see it, they're going to want to come check out the changes and get a more immediate investment, return on our investment by doing that. So it's just a suggestion.
I have a couple of concerns. I mentioned the price increase, but you got a net increase of almost $1 million. Adding the $500,000 of park pass, and then the 20% increase in might have one, 15 of the other. So we're talking about $1 million more, and I appreciate you asking for that, or considering that. But this whole thing was set up on the fact that we were going to be able to contribute as we could based on what we had on the books, as well as income being derived from sales tax. So if we want to do this project sooner than 3 years, if we go the full 3 million, we may not have the funds to that. We were counting on phases over time. When we first did,
But to my point, or you just give us the 1.5 and not have to do the thing, and then we're going to match it, so you don't have to worry.
that's why I said I appreciate it. I'm also talking with others, so I'm looking at both of you.
I was talking about.
I'm bigger.
Okay.
Just
So I just want to point out that in this menu, we could leave out the 575 and 42. Well, the push-up green and the smooth all the bunkers. And just go with the irrigation and the drainage improvement, we should make a big difference out there.
And what about the car pass?
We could add a car pass to it as the 2.4 and 2 part that. So it would be about 2.5 billion, so $3 million total if we excluded those 2 items.
Which ones?
The modern push-up green and the smooth over bunkers. And just go with the other items. Of course, some of these will be reduced also because these are percentage contingencies. So we're looking at about $3 million, just under $3 million to do those items.
What's our available back?
Right now you have $1 million, 1.10? 1.8. But again, and that's why we provided the timeline, because this allows you to pay as you go. Keep in mind that doing an RFP for an architect is going to take time. You see that out there, right? And Danny's familiar with that. Bringing that to the city council and negotiating the contract, that takes time. Like design work for the architect is probably going to take about 3 to 6 months. That's typical. That's what it just takes time. So all that time you're generating money, but no construction is taking place. We're paying for the architectural services, and that's it. So during that time, you're building revenue.
So again, to my point, if you just commit to 1.5, you have the money put away, it's accounted for. and then you vote on the concept of other projects. And then we do that as it's needed. And again, it's not gonna hit our budget cycle this year. We can budget into next year and longer as it's going.
Mr. President, I'd like to see if we can do a vote, and then, if it doesn't pass, then, vote,
You're still in the direction. You me, what's on, based on what's on the agenda, I would go with the big, elephant in the room. If we don't fix irrigation, it's nonsense.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Or I don't know who this goes to, but in the brief summary, it says that this is recommending a 20-year-old irrigation system. Did they take this system and take out the 9 holes, or was that based on everything put together?
This estimate, is strictly for hole 1 through 18, which is the agenda item. This estimate does not include anything having to do with the 9 holes.
Okay, so,
Or the 4 that we would fold into the rotation to make an improvement. No improvement would be made to those. It was strictly for 1 through 18.
Commissioner, though, the irrigation system is over 20 years old, though. The existing irrigation system.
no, I get that. But what I was talking about is because it says here the improvements include replacing the over 20-year-old irrigation system. And did this survey include the whole system, or was it just for the 18?
So it was only for the 18 commissioner, because the National Gal Foundation, the consultant recommending focusing on the improvements for the 18. And so that's what staff has been kind of pushing forward, improving to the 18 only. And so these estimates are based on irrigation, the greens, the drainage, only for holes 1 through 18. It does not include those other 4 holes that we're referring to that we will fold into rotation. While we do these improvements, no improvements are being made on those. Strictly hold 1 through 18.
Can we get Dan, if I may? One of the things in our discussions was always focused around the irrigation system and the drainage improvements. All this other stuff just kind of like, you know, in some way is relevant, of course, and you want to do it right. That cart path as an alternate, you were recommending removing some items and focusing on certain items. But if we were going to seriously consider making a difference, having an impact on the golf course, we would at least have to include the irrigation system and the drainage system. And I don't know what the design and all that stuff means.
Can we get some input from Jeff? I mean, he's the expert, I'm assuming, too maybe, right? Yes. So if you have any input, like on which one of these are like essential or
The most essential, if you had to rank them, is gonna be replacing your irrigation system and your drainage. They're not 2 separate items, they're one in the same, basically. So if you're gonna do the irrigation, you gotta do the drainage. The second one, my personal opinion, is the greens, fixing the greens. We can knock the cart paths and not do anything with them, that's okay. And we can also leave the bunkers in their current position, all we have to do is fill them up with sand. But the most important is getting your irrigation system rich working correctly, and the drainage, they're interchanged, they're the same thing, basically, you have to do drainage.
Mr. President, I'd like to, adjust my motion. I don't have to do that. Just the, what we haven't available balance.
We have to vote, but you can die for a lack of. Is that correct? The motion
You
can die.
can call for a vote.
We'll call for a vote, but it can die. And then a new motion presented. But then we can reintroduce another motion.
Another motion.
I thought there's a thing that are probably his motion.
I know that there's such a thing, but that is the simpler way to go. It appears that the first and the second are willing to rescind.
We just want to withdraw your motion.
Oh, okay, I withdraw it and I want to. You have to withdraw your second, right?
Yeah.
So we're withdrawing.
You have to withdraw your second.
Let me ask you one question. If we were to rescind our motion and ask for today, this board, 3.1 commit, and then you guys and the commission decide too much value to have, then we can chip in and do it. There's no reason why we could just My fear is that we ask for 1.2 or whatever it is, and then 2 months later, we do the same damn thing, asking us to.
And if we take Jeff's recommendation on the drainage, the irrigation, you're still gonna need design services, you're still gonna need contingency, this is, number will probably drop down. But you're looking at about $3 million.
That's a partnership part. I mean, we've done our part.
But I guess my point is, we've had other projects in the past where it said, hey, we want to spend this much, and then a grant came in and lowered it 500,000. You know, this might be a little different, because the commission gets a decision. You guys spearhead what you want to fund. At least you have a go today.
But, you know, if that's what you want to do, you did the 3. Just talking here, we're having a discussion. If we did the 3, then we can move forward with the architect and begin that process. We're not gonna have $3 million.
We don't have to accept the 3 right now.
No, absolutely not. So that's just providing information. I'm not a decision maker.
So repeat that again, please.
So if we did the 3 million, which would be the irrigation, the greens, drainage, design services and contingency, it's about $3 million. Leave the park pads out. Leave the bunkers out. You get $3 million, we can move forward knowing that that money would be set aside as your fund grows, so we could begin the process of hiring an architect. If that's what you all do.
If we're to, say, just that, we're kind of counting on some blue sky being out there for us, right? I mean, it looks good, but it's still blue sky, right?
And keep in mind that Jeff and his staff has done a really good job on improving the greens. And so if we're gonna replace the greens, it would transform the golf course. And the intent here is to make it a premier golf course, at least the 1 through 18. Because at some point, I would come to the commission so we can change our rates, so that we can become more self-sustaining than $300,000 deficits. Those are huge deficits. And if I'm taking that deficit into the general fund, that's me taking away from a general fund department. And it's gotta come from somewhere. You know, it's money, at the end of the day, it's money, but it's general fund money, it's gotta come from somewhere. So it's really up to the board, it's really up to the city council.
Well, okay, this is up to us. At this point, we have a motion and a second for meeting 5. Part of the discussion has been to resend that point to withdraw your motion, and obviously withdraw a second. And then the rest of the discussion is, what are the issues that we're talking about? Well, it's not done yet, and I'm not that much of a, you withdraw, you didn't, right?
I'll withdraw that. I'll withdraw myself.
So you never withdraw, and that's.
And I make my motion again, indicate that 1.8 is to be better. Well, we have to. That's what I'm gonna go with. I'm not gonna go with it.
There's a motion. No motion, you have a second?
Shared costs.
Have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So who opposed?
I didn't respond to that's pretty motion. Can you hear us?
You have any here?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
What was your vote was?
Oh, it's an aye.
And since there's no microphone for y'all, I didn't hear what was the amount.
1.8.
So, motion carries.
Item 3, consideration of possible action to approve the recreational project to move forward the fund funding of our golf course project. My understanding is the action taken was to allocate $1.8 million to the golf course project. What are the wishes of the commission?
I'd like to, make a motion that we accept that contingent upon that the city is directed to, bring up the difference of 3.1, to make sure that we get it right.
Second.
Well,
Legally, can we do that?
That's it.
how long?
You can only vote on the motion. Yeah, only, I have.
We'd have to come, we'd have to come back, we'd have to be back with just, if you want to add money, put it in.
Later, but yes, sir, I said. Okay, so I'll make the motion to accept the
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Good. Right. Motion carries. All right.
Thank you.
2 minutes to spare. That's what.